Cool. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started just to make sure we don't run over time because I know that it's kind of bedtime, not bedtime, that other thing, dinner time and lots of stuff, activity time, lots of stuff going on, at least in Kansas City. So I want to say hi and thanks for joining. My name is Ellen Schwartz, and I've got a couple people on the line with me today. Liz Harris also works here with me at Bike Walk KC, and Bobby Evans is a bike bus leader here in the Kansas City area. So I'm excited for everybody to be here. Couple of Zoom etiquette things. Would love for cameras to be on if you're able. I think I do want this to be just a dynamic back and forth conversation. I like that personally. I know it's not for everybody though, so no pressure either way. Please do try to stay on mute. And if you have a question, you can either use the raise your hand question functionality or come off mute and kind of like give us a little signal or drop in the chat that you want to say something. Liz and I are watching the chat for any questions. You can prop them there if that's easier. I try to answer questions like as they happen because I think that's going to help you digest everything better versus trying to hold them to the end. So as you have questions, grab my attention. Would love to answer those as best as possible. On the screen is a quick agenda just talking about what is Bike Bus. We're going to talk about why it matters. We're going to dive into what I think a lot of people are here for, which is the actual how-to of starting a bike bus. And then we'll get into some of the challenges. And if possible, there is a special guest, Coach Balto, who is the guy on Instagram and TikTok who like is famous for doing a bike bus. He got wind of this and I asked if he wanted to come and say a few words, but he is also doing pickup for his kid right now because he's on the West Coast. So we'll see if he's able to join and come give us a little cheerful rah-rah. But otherwise, I'm excited to get started. A little introduction about Bike Walk KC. If you aren't familiar, we're local here in Kansas City. The mission is to redefine streets for people to build a culture of active living. But the vision and like kind of how we're trying to change that is where bike buses really fit in. So trying to imagine a Kansas City where you're basically not required to use your car, something where you can move through the city, you can do it comfortably, sustainably, but also like that walking and biking can be a simple choice and not something where you feel like you have to create lots of effort on your part or that it might be more dangerous than being in your car or whatever that might be. So that is a little bit about Bike Walk KC. My name's Ellen Schwartz. I'm the founder of KC Family Bike Ride. And I have both worked and volunteered with Bike Walk KC off and on for, I think, 10 or 11 years. So I've just kind of been a fangirl in various different ways. Um, I am currently with Bike Walk KC working specifically to help schools set up and parents set up bike buses. It's part of the Safe Routes to School program, finding ways to get kids safely from their homes to schools without having to be in cars. And then also on the line is Liz, who's my cohort, my co-worker at Bike Walk KC. She's helping me in the background with all the Zoom things. And then also is Bobby Evans, who is a parent at FLA, and he started a bike bus. So I wanted him on the call for his perspective. They had a really great fall over there in Midtown. So that is that. And I wanted to talk a bit about who is here. We wound up having registrations coast to coast, which I think is very exciting. I don't think that people are on the call. If you want to take a minute and in the chat, let me know where you are hoping to start a bike bus. Kind of that can be as specific as you feel comfortable with, whether that's in your city or if you want to tell this, say the school that you're with, if you're in the KC metro area. Because even in the questions that we had come in, we had a few people who are just looking for others to join the bike buses with them. So the more we can connect everybody, the better. Might be an off chance that everybody on the call, that more than one person on the call is from the same place, but you never know. So Kansas is representing really well tonight. And I forgot to advance the slide to show here's our regional map of people who have made it, who registered at least. Good representation across both states, but apparently I need to mark it a little harder north of the river. So I'll do what I can for that next time. But yeah, in the chat, lots of people from all over St. Peter's, which is just down by me, Academy Lafayette, North Austin. Is that Austin, Texas? Because I did see that registration come in, so I'm very excited. anybody who's not familiar with Kansas City metro area, we have a lot of different spaces to work with. So we have some urban stuff, we have some suburban stuff, and we have some rural stuff. So awesome. Welcome from Texas. So I'm going to try to kind of hit on the various spaces that we have to work with and try to talk a little bit to how this all applies in all these various different situations. But as mentioned, if you've got questions, send them in and we'll do our best to answer them. So any questions so far? Anything anybody wants to make sure that I cover? The questions you asked during the registration process, I have grabbed all of those as well, and I think I answer most of them. But like I said, just holler if I have skipped anything. Okay. I think that you probably know what a bike bus is, but just to take us all the way to the top, the bike bus is a group of parents and students, or I should say adults and students, it doesn't have to be parents, who navigate to school the same way that a school bus would. So there are set spots where people meet up and then ride together along a set and determined route. The reasons that you would do this are many, but for the most part, the reasons that I like it best is it's promoting health and well-being, but it's also encouraging roadway safety. It also helps students learn better if they've had a little bit of activity in the morning. It helps them focus. It's building community, it's reducing car traffic, noise, and it's good for the environment. So it might feel a bit like it doesn't apply in Kansas City sometimes, but we already have one success story. Hale Cook in Casey Mo started a bike bus this fall, partially because of a lot of the advocacy work that we've been doing here at BikeWalkKC. So Warnell Road had a road diet come in that introduced a safer crossing that has been allowing the kids to actually get to school from the trolley trail across to into the neighborhood where Hale Cook is. So I'm here to kind of say that it can happen. We can do it. Like we've done several. So we have 3 bike buses in the Kansas City area running right now, and this is where we're trying to expand this and just kind of put Kansas City on the map as a place that you actually can have a safe experience riding a bike. So we're digging into, starting already, the how-tos of how to start a bike bus. And I do think that I just saw Coach Balto pop on, which is just incredible timing. So I don't know if I'm going to put him on the spot right away. If you can unmute, you can let me know. And if not, we'll keep moving. Okay. We're going to keep moving. Coach Balto, if you hear me and you want to chime in, let me know. That'd be great. On the screen, we've got the 3 steps that I've broken down starting a bike bus into. So I've got plan, organize, and promote, and everything that you need to do fits into one of these. The QR code will scan over to the doc that I've been using as like the template so that you can follow along. I will literally be like marching through this particular doc, and you can make your own copy and start putting in your own answers there as we move through this too. And then Liz, if you could drop that link in the chat as well, that would be awesome. Balto's driving, but he'll chat when he gets home. Perfect. That is fine. And then Bobby too, did you want to say anything before we jump in since you started your bike bus?
Not at the moment. I'm sure I've found great success with the organizing materials from BikeWalkKC, so I will just upfront vouch for what you've already been doing and trust the process.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. In that case, moving on to the first thing of how to do it and planning. I've put this on here as a reminder to myself, but it's also kind of a reminder to take a big, deep breath. You don't have to overthink starting a bike bus. It can be very straightforward. It can be very simple, and you can do it. I promise. After that, starting with setting a schedule is something that will help anchor you into how much you can do. So you will have a route, and you need to probably try to recruit a co-leader if you can, because that'll start to take the pressure off of you to have feeling like you are the only person who can show up. If you are the only person to show up, choose the schedule that you can sustain. It does not have to be every day. It could be once a week. It could be every other week. It could just be once a month. What is something that you feel like you can be consistent with and set up and then promote at the other side of it to where you'll be able to show up, like I said, to where people know where to find you and know what's going on. So you'll set that schedule. For example, the one that I run at Border Star, it's once a week. It's on Thursdays in the morning. And then the second thing to do is to set a route. So as you've talked to people, if there are enough people on your route that you want to join in, you'll set the route to like match where they can join in that is safest, but also convenient. And then you'll set timings. You'll start from your bell time and work backwards based on how long your route is. I suggest for routes, if you've got little kids, probably a mile is about all you're going to want to do to just not have a ton of stress in the morning and worry about being late if their little legs are tired or if their little brains are not interested in riding a bike that morning. Um, but for older kids, you could probably get up to more like 2 or 3 miles. It just depends on the group that you wind up gathering, and who all's joining. So you'll probably hear me say a lot on this call, like you can shift it to match the demographic that you have at your school, the demographic you have showing up on your ride specifically. So, setting your schedule, setting your route, then establish your kind of core group of champions. This is where if you really want to start one, but you're worried about your own bandwidth and your own time, you can ask someone to come with you. And this is too where, again, don't overthink it. It can just be as simple as, I want to start a bike bus. Does that sound like fun to you? Go from there. Ask someone, pull them in, say, hey, would you please? I think this could be really cool, but I need your help to do it. I think we're just in a space in history where building community is going to be as important as dismantling certain systems. So this is truly something that I lean into as part of helping all of that forward. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your fellow parents, and see who's there. And then the final one that I have put on here, which is also one of the questions that a couple of people asked, is how do you get home at the end of the day? This is, again, very related to your school. So, um, and also who's on the ride. So if you have parents who can do it in the morning, but they're going to have their kids in the after school program, it might just be that the status is we're going to ride together in the morning, but everyone needs to get themselves home at the end of the day. There's the other option, which would be to say, we're just going to do it backwards in the afternoon. It relies more on parents who are able to greet you or ride with you. And that's just not always the reality for some parents. So making sure that whatever you choose is clearly communicated, is always going to be key. But those are kind of the two buckets you fall into quickly when it comes to getting home. You either say, every man for yourself, happy to ride, but I'm not doing it. Or you can have a bit more of a structure and hope that people can ride back with you. Any questions so far? Yes, Christian.
So my name's Christian. I'm from Shawnee, Kansas. Thanks for having this. My kids are 19. They graduated and they're in college now. So, but I ride bikes, I commute, and I want to help. And so, but I also feel extremely awkward going to school or like, I mean, I've talked to some of the parents around here and they've expressed some interest, but none of them are like going to go to their PTA to talk about like doing this.
Okay.
So any advice or thoughts on that would be great.
I haven't had this one before, so I'm going off the top of my head, but I think it would have to do a bit about like, is there a parent who you know at the school who can kind of be your in? But at the same time, if it is a neighborhood school, which I think on the Kansas side, it's a lot better about you live near the school that your kid attends than it is in KC specifically. Start to just ask neighbors, and if you are like, I have a 5-year-old, and I'm very happy for him to be talking to my neighbors. If there's a situation like that you have with a kid at the school, like ask if that needs to be, or ask if they would be interested in writing with you, and that can be kind of the starting point. So whatever it is that does feel comfortable. I understand what you mean about not wanting to just like insert yourself, but
Yeah.
um What were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I agree. And then I've only talked to one neighbor so far. So and like I tried once and they're like, that sounds cool, but they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I have a couple other people I just haven't talked to them yet. So a little bit is just a little bit of bravery on my part.
Oh, yeah. And it's not a small thing to be brave in these ways, too. So I don't want to take away from that. I'll say, too, my other just personal stance on all of this is that schools need to become a backbone of community, too. So, like, the more that we can rally around schools and each other, the better everything will be. So, there was a school, Corinth, over in Kansas, that's like even just looking for, I think that one of the solutions can be like neighborhood volunteers to help with pickup and like just traffic around the school, but stuff like that. Like we kind of all need to be pulled in and helping, I think. It's a good question though. And someone else actually did also send in the question about I don't have a kid here, but I want to help. And what does that look like? So you're not alone in that sense either. Any other questions on the how for the planning side of it, at least? That actually reminds me, one of the things I think I forgot to put on here is that a bike bus can just be you and your kid. Like it could be two people. I know we have Coach Balto on here who has a whole like horde of kids, but Portland gets a pass for having all kinds of bike infrastructure, but also B, like it's been there for longer. Like when you're starting out, any bike bus is a great bike bus. Yes. I've got Kristen go again, and then Irv Mex.
I know when my kids were in school, like at least in our school district, if you volunteer anything that's officially a school thing, you have to like sign up and do a training program. Are are bike buses considered like officially a school thing? How much do schools like, if you want to do it, you can, versus no, we totally love this and it's part of us in the school district is like danger, danger, like don't get involved because what if there's a lawsuit and that sort of stuff?
What a great question. And this is actually addressed in that doc that I sent out where it's again a bit of a choose your own adventure, right? Um, having it go through the school does introduce a few more hoops for sure. Not that those hoops shouldn't be there, but they are there. Um, in I think all three of the cases here in Kansas City, at least, we are just parents who want to ride with our kids. And that makes it a lot easier to organize and to just have it be a very casual thing. Um, going up the next, kind of the next in-betweeny level would be like, here's a form, and part of the form that when you gather information from people also says you aren't going to hold the school liable and you're not going to sue me as a fellow parent, just to add something that's not probably legally binding, but it is at least a bit more of a written down social contract. And then the next step up, I think, would be going through the school and whatever channels they would ask of you and require of you. I think Bobby tried to kind of go through their PTO, and it wasn't like they were trying to introduce hoops. It was more that they were trying to make it a bigger thing than it needed to be. So, Bobby, I don't know, you want to talk through that if you're free?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Bobby Evans, we're in Kansas City, Missouri for folks outside of the region. My daughter goes to Kansas City Public School. I used to be a teacher. I know the like routine of schools just kind of reflexively saying no to a lot of stuff. So I was automatically going, my first instinct was to be as more of like a parent advocate as opposed to going through the district and things. We did have some interaction with PTO, and I mean, their hearts were in the right place. They just, PTO was thinking every school event like it's the school card. You know,
Bobby, you're breaking up a little bit. You were clear.
you
They're hard.
know, sorry, is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, their hearts were in the right place. I just feel like the PTO maybe kind of was thinking of everything more like it's the school carnival or like a dance or something. And Bike Plus just has a lot of moving parts. It's a new idea. There's all kinds of other various aspects to it. And so I wanted to just kind of get it over the line.
Get it over the line. Yeah. Thanks.
No.
Irv Mex, I don't know if that's your first name or if that's your phone's name. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's my phone's name. My name is Irving. I'm in Austin. I'm just actually just kind of following on the same question. Like, would it be best to just kind of start a bike bus by myself? So I take my son to school like on my cargo bike every day, basically.
Hmm.
And the idea, like, I live in a neighborhood where the school is pretty close. Like for my house, like less than a mile or about a mile. So I want to start a bike bus, but I was a little unclear if I should try to go through the PTA. Should I try to go through the school? Do I just like announce it somewhere on like a page and sign people up? Um, that's kind of one of the first barriers. I did talk to like a member of the PTA that's pretty active, and she said like, oh, I can reach out to the PTA president, I guess, and they
Hmm.
would like be happy to kind of share, like not like kind of share the announcement, I guess, once I was ready to actually like set it up.
Hmm.
But they were also unclear on like how they could help me or what they needed from me, or if. And my next question was like, do I need to go through the school or not? Like, and like, it sounds like maybe I should just start it and then maybe ask for forgiveness later. I don't know.
That's what I did for sure. And again, it's kind of what's the vibe? If you think that your school would overreact to that, then it might be better to try to go through the channels. But I think for the most part, people are eager to see more of this in general. Kids on bikes is always a feel-good story. Um,
Right.
as far as the doing it first, I think that's probably a good way to do it. If you're already doing it, I think inviting more people in is a pretty easy first step. I just switched the slide over actually. I think this flows perfectly into the next thing, which is organizing it. How do you get people to know? How do you get their information? How do you start rallying the troops, so to speak? Um, and I think it can start to feel, is it feeling a little chicken and egg? Is that part of the issue?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know exactly where I started. I mean, do I just start it and ask for forgiveness or ask for permission, or do I ask for permission first and then start it? I don't know.
Yeah. Um, I think start wherever you can. If you're not sure if you want to do chicken or egg first, I think just choose whichever one feels attainable to you. Um, and I think this is where we actually in Kansas City had a couple of examples of both. So, like at my school, I was getting the vibes that if tried to go through the official channels, it would be delayed. I would have a bunch to answer a bunch of questions that I thought this is me talking as a parent and not as a BikeWalkKC employee. I thought they were stupid and I didn't want to do it. And so I just started it on my own and I started to promote it on my own and get the crowd together. I had a couple friends who were in my neighborhood going to the same school and they were all about it. And so I had enough of a groundswell to say, I'm going to start to do this. And then I kind of got the PTA's blessing without getting the school's blessing. But the school also didn't. There was a whole kerfuffle.
Oh, I see.
Um, but that was school specific, not
Yeah, I guess
PTA
that's what concerns
specific.
me is like causing like kerfuffle, I guess. But I
Yeah.
guess I should just go anyways.
All
Right.
right. I'm just going to chime in real quick. It's Coach Balto. I
Hey.
think the way I always think about it is like, if you were carpooling with another family, would you be asking the school for permission? And the answer is
Hmm.
obviously no.
No, right.
And so it's like you're just doing a carpool, but you're not limited by the size of your car. And it's way more inclusive because anybody can join. And
Yeah.
so there's a leader in Salt Lake City, and he always says, ask for participation, not permission. So you're inviting people to come and participate, but you're not, there's, going through the like school channels. If you're asking for permission and then they're like, no, well, you're going to do it anyways. So just ask for them to participate and to support it. And then you can always like lean on, the more people that ride, the safer it is. Don't you want this to be, like more people safely going to school? Let's promote it.
Yeah.
But
That's great.
by like, you have to be very mindful about like approaching the school. And, as long as you're a dad, I don't know how old your kids are, but like just find two or three other parents that are like
Mhm.
biking in that same direction, make a
Yeah.
flyer and then share that flyer. And if the PTA or the school doesn't want to like promote it on their channels, that's unfortunate. But you're just gonna lead with the joy and keep doing it and passing out a flyer. And I'd definitely say create a WhatsApp group
Oh,
to
okay.
sort of to send people to, and they can have like QR codes, which makes it easy to join. And you're just sort of creating your own bike bus communication channel.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great framing.
Yeah, I like ask for participation, not permission. I'm gonna steal that too. Oh, and Liz even put it in the chat. Great minds think alike. So yes, kind of both of those things wrapped up in the next two slides, right? So, and this is where, again, just start with what makes sense. And if setting up a Google form and asking people to fill it out feels really intimidating to you, then all you do is instead ask for their phone number and put it in your phone and put their last name as Bike Bus and then put them on a group text. It all is just, if you're the person who's ready to take this on, you don't have to do it any way that's more official than what you need to keep it all straight and safe. Yeah, Bobby just put in the chat, actually, they used my maps on Google to share and plan the routes, which is great. I've used Strava. I've used, there's another one too that I can't remember, but anything that just kind of helps people visualize the route. When we planned at Hale Cook, they have a guy who runs a printing press, or not a printing press because we're not in the 1800s, but like a digital thing. And he printed out like a 3-foot tall map of their neighborhood. And we just like literally put dots on everybody's addresses. And then it was like, okay, this makes sense. Here's a route and this is the safe streets and here's where it's going to go from there. So however that makes sense to get everybody on the same page is great. As far as organizing kind of in the background, so I set up a Google form and there is a template. It's linked in the doc that you can go and copy so that you just kind of have everything that I used. Make sure you ask for parents' name and email addresses and phones. Phone numbers are how you do day of coordination. So I think I've got a screenshot there on the right of the actual WhatsApp group that we use. And it's just kind of like a sound off of who's riding this morning. And then if there's like someone's running late or someone's running early, you can just drop it in the chat. We have 2 routes at Border Star. We have one from the north and one from the south. And so that's where we have 2 separate chats just so that we're not noisy and talking across each other. So yeah, anybody who's like running late in the south chat, you put it in the south chat and then you all meet up after that. So sign up. Like I said, I use the Google form because my brain is actually a spreadsheet just tucked into my skull. And then communication on the day and then group dynamics. So communication is always going to be key no matter what you do. I feel like I'm forgetting something that I was going to say about this. So let me pull up my notes. How about that? Oh, the leader. So as you kind of get your ride together, if it starts to grow beyond like a few parents and their exact kids, so that you're not kind of getting into more of a more kids than adults situation, you do want to start assigning leaders for someone to be at the front of the group and someone to be at the back of the group. So I call that a leader, and then the one at the back is the sweep. So making sure that kids who are a little bit slower stay together as a group or holler up to the ride leader to make sure that they wait. And then the more adults that you can add them to the outside as marshals, or you can use one person. If you are going to cross a busy street, you can use one person to go up ahead and, if needed, in a safe manner, slow and stop traffic so that the group can then cross together. Coach Balto actually has lots of great videos of this happening, to where the ride leaders will ride out, stop in the middle of the street, and you'll see just then the swarm of kids can cross all together. And so traffic has this good visible signal that they need to just wait a minute. And then for promoting it, and this kind of goes hand in hand with organizing in the background, to where it's great to have like a groundswell of people at the first, but I think really all you need to have is yourself who wants to do it the first time, and then a buddy. Like 2 people as a crowd in this situation. One of my favorite like first ever viral videos on the internet was where there's this dude dancing at a music festival and he looks like an idiot because he's all alone. But then, okay, Christian knows what I'm talking about. The second person shows up and starts dancing with him. And then by the end of the video, it's like practically a mosh pit. You just needed the second person to show up to like validate that the first person wasn't totally alone. So the second dancer, yes, thank you, Christian. So that is where I think we're at this point. So It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a river of kids. It just needs to be us, and we need to be doing it safely. So promoting it and getting the word out can be, again, what makes sense to you. Here are some ideas that I've used in the past, though, too. So um, announcing it at the PTA meetings. This can be as easy as, hey, I'm a parent and I'm starting this. I will say, if you're going to do that, try to have a QR code with you at the meeting. Because what happened with me, luckily I had the QR code with me. When I said, "Hey, I'm here, I'm a parent, and this is what I am doing," people hadn't seen the Facebook posts and they hadn't seen the emails. But when I said it in the meeting, they said, "That's great, I want to learn more." And I could just blip them over with the QR code to the form, and then we're instantly connected. Um, In-person stuff is just right now, I think people really do just connect better in person. We are humans, and that's what it is. People ignore emails, people ignore Facebook posts, and or the algorithm is royally screwed up, so you don't see the right stuff. Door to door, talking to people if in the pickup line, or if you have other spaces where you can meet other parents, or like I said, other neighborhood kids, if everybody's kind of grouped by neighborhood to go to the same school, the more people who you can just say, by the way, I'm starting this, are you interested? The more you'll get people to sign on, and then you just start communicating with them regularly. There are a few people in our bike bus group chats who are kind of like aspirational, but they wanted to be in the group anyway so that they see it in their chats. And when we're doing it, it's like they see it, they're reminded, they're going to do their best to try it next time, even though they know it's like a long shot. Having those people in your back pocket too, it's like anybody who's interested, try to just keep the word out, try to keep it top of mind, and try to just be really encouraging and open and flexible. So yeah, PTA meetings, school communications channels, paper flyers, yard signs, which have actually worked really well for me in my other life as the bike ride leader. Yard signs with a QR code on it have driven lots of people to bike rides. So I think QR codes are having a moment to where it's really easy for people to scan it and it stays up on their phone, or they can remind themselves or text it to themselves. And so having that QR code go straight to information about it or the sign up form itself means that then you can reach out to them afterwards really quickly. The other cool thing I think about yard signs is if you put it at your school, you're guaranteed to get it in front of your audience. Like you're riding to this same school, you might as well plop it there where kids are going to see it, and hopefully parents will see it too. And then in-person neighborhood events, in-person school events, and good old word of mouth. Questions? I feel like I blew through that, but we're also closing in. We have a little bit of time left. We are okay. Okay, I'm going to assume that I'm perfect. It's a dangerous thing. Thank you, Ellen E, by the way, for always emojiing my offhanded comments. It's not often that there are more than one Ellen without one of us being 80 years old, by the way. Okay, challenges. We've hit on a lot of these kind of just in the discussion. These are the biggest ones that I've got on here, but feel free to ask about whatever's on your mind. We've hit on traffic a little bit. Kansas City specifically, I think this is a big one. That's why I put it up on top, and the picture I chose is of a gigantic pickup truck that's turning, I think it's turning right on red. It's probably being legal, but I hated it. So I wanted to just kind of acknowledge that traffic is a big deal. There are a lot of good, safe routes, and this is part of what I would be happy to help you do. If you want to just kind of set up some time with me, we can start talking about the ways that you can choose bikes, or sorry, choose routes that are safer or that feel better. And then also kind of do a quick overview of safe riding habits and what to do, like taking the lane and that sort of thing. It's just a fact that I wanted to acknowledge. Traffic here is traffic. They're not used to bikes on the road, and sometimes they're not paying attention, and it's rush hour. So you have to acknowledge the Ford F3000 or whatever in the room. Infrastructure. This has been a big success story in Kansas City, honestly. The Hale Cook Bike Bus uses the trolley trail, so taking the kids off the street as much as possible, which for our non-KC people, it's a crushed gravel trail, used to have a trolley on it. back when Kansas City had public transportation that actually worked. And now it's a off-road crushed gravel, pretty much flat the whole way trail. It runs along one of our main arteries. So it's a great one. And then also some of our streets have gotten road diets that allow for much, much safer crossings. So Hale Cook was able to use the Charlie Trail paired with a flashing signed crosswalk across Warnell. FLA is using the protected bike lanes on Armour. And then my bike buses at Border Star as well use the Charlie Trail. And the ironic part is that like the last one block trying to get around 63rd Street or Meyer or Warnell or Brookside Boulevard is the most dangerous part of the whole ride. However, I'm going to secretly / not so secretly try to convince all of you that you should become bike advocates and put your kids in adorable outfits and then take pictures of them and then ask your city council people to make better infrastructure for our kids. I'm not shy about it. Frankly, people pay better attention to kids. And if you tell them that your kid's unsafe, they might actually listen. So it's a subversive, not so subversive way for me to say I think that everybody could benefit from this. Weather. Kansas City's got lots of weather to deal with, and it does actually like either can shorten or elongate your season. Kind of, you just never know. This year, my bike buses made it almost all the way into December. The November Thursdays just happened to have really good luck. We call it off if it's raining. I know that Coach Balto is rolling his eyes at us, but we are not Portland, and our rain is actually a lot sometimes. But also the group that I particularly am riding with at my school has some really new riders. And so I don't want them messing with slick brakes and low visibility with drivers who aren't expecting them. So again, just another kind of nod to that idea of taking your exact bike bus into consideration when you set these rules. Do have a weather quote unquote policy. That way it's a little bit easier to call it off. The communication, if you're calling it off, is a little bit clearer because most people are anticipating it coming. So I have a 40 degrees and under policy that I don't, for the bike bus at least, it's just too cold. A lot of times it's windy when it's getting that cold too, if it's raining. And then in the summer, if it's going to be, I think I have a heat index. So not the temperature, but the feels like temperature of 100 or more is when I say it's not worth my mental health to think that I might cause a heat stroke in someone else's kid. So that again has a lot to do with your literal location, but also just your personal feel for this. How long are you riding? If this is just a few blocks, then it's probably fine. But if you're going a few miles, that's a different situation. Oh, kids. We are, in fact, working with kids if we're talking about bike buses. And boy, I only have one of them, and it's a lot, you guys. So we're all doing really good work as parents. And now we're trying to put them on two wheels, which is wonderful. And my child is brainwashed and he loves bikes. They, depending on their age, or sometimes not depending on their age, they're squirrely and they're not focused, and you are kind of worried about them at all times. So setting the rules ahead of time and in a fun way is going to go a long way for making sure that everybody is safe. I don't know if you've noticed this phenomenon, but for my kid, he will listen to someone else way better than he will listen to me. So I also lean into that to where making sure that, if it's someone else's kid, I am the authority. These are the rules. They are not to be broken. If you are acting in a certain way, here is the consequence. So making sure that, again, communication-wise, everything is just communicated to the smallest among us and the biggest among us. So having that all up front, being very clear about it when you first set off to ride is going to go a long way in your sanity and safety on the ride, even if it's a short one. Again, Coach Balto, I think, has some great videos where you see him chanting about are we going to be safe? Are we going to do this? And again, in a way that kids are responding to. So it's not just saying, if the light turns yellow, then make sure you do or don't. It's like, yellow means stop, or whatever it might be. I don't think I have any good tricks or tips for that other than be fun and be clear and tell them they can't come back if they aren't going to follow the rules. But bike maintenance, you're not going super far, and luckily kids' bikes are pretty robust. If possible, try to have some spare tubes, some repair kits if you can. If everything really does go sideways, because of a bike maintenance situation, the best thing is that you're probably only a mile away from school. You can walk it if you need to. The other thing that I am able to do with my bike setup is I have a trailer that I'm able to haul behind. So I can put a pretty big kid in that along with their bike, if it needs to be that they just ride the rest of the way to school with me. It sounds like I know that Irving said he has a cargo bike. Those can usually hold up to 50, 60 pounds. It depends on your bike specifically, but if you can get one that can like also bring a kid along if something truly goes sideways, that is helpful. Obviously, if you get 100 kids, you cannot do that for 100 kids. So that might actually be a good one for Coach Balto to chime in on too. I think for the most part, the short distances make it to where as long as the bike's wheels roll, you can probably make it to school. Um, and then we touched on this a little bit, waivers. This is going to be a kind of decision that you make as a group. If there is a school body involved, it's probably going to be required that you have some kind of waiver. You can also just kind of make your own, decide amongst yourselves. I decided not to because it started to feel a little bit too much like I was running a business and not trying to build community. But it also depends again on what kind of risk are you willing to take on yourself and who are the other people you're dealing with? You know, are you maybe you're getting the vibes that someone needs to sign something because otherwise they'll be a jerk. I don't know. There's lots of reasons. Questions, thoughts, anything that I didn't cover? Anything that anybody wants to add?
I had a quick question,
Yeah.
Irving. So I know you mentioned that like, like you could start your bike bus like just you and your kid really if you wanted to, or that's all that you found originally, I guess. But how do you deal with like say that I'm like the only adult for the first whatever few rides as people become aware and like I have several kids. Like it's really hard for me to stop traffic. Is there like a good way to do that? Like, if there's just one adult to actually like, block the street because I think here in my neighborhood there's like two. We're not like inside the city traffic because we're kind of like a suburb almost,
Okay.
but there are a couple of really big roads that I have to cross. Where like that's where like most of the traffic goes in and out to get to the school.
Is
Um,
there a marked crossing anywhere? Like a
there's a mark.
stoplight?
There's a
Okay.
mark crossing, no stoplights, but there's also not like there's like a quote unquote like road crossing, like the little lines, but there's
Okay.
not like a light to like indicate that there's somebody crossing or something. You just kind of have to see it, and they're like in the worst spot. I think it's like right around the bend, so it's sometimes a little dicey.
I don't
Um,
know the exact bend, but a bend is never good.
yeah.
Um, I would say probably so as far as safety, and I don't quote me on this exactly because I haven't taken the LCI training in a minute, but it's going to be safest to cross as a group. So make sure that every kid is very close to you and again understands the
Mm.
ramifications.
Yeah.
And then I would say too, that's going to be a really good indication that you probably should recruit a second adult as soon as you can.
Okay.
Like it's going to be best if you can have someone out in traffic, like standing there
Hmm.
as you cross, because most people will not actually run you over on
Okay.
foot.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But that's what I've done on the Casey family bike rides is I try to ask whoever has either the biggest bike or the brightest colors on to be that person for me if it isn't me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Good question though. Just looking through the notes. I think I've hit on everything that came in through the Eventbrite. Sam, did you just unmute? No?
I finally
Hi,
got to my hi. I finally got to my destination. So
nice, welcome.
put the kids at the park. Can you all see me?
Yes,
Cool. This was awesome. Thank you.
thank you for coming. Thanks
Yeah,
for starting bike buses.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely got the gist and the essence of it. I'd say consistency is key. So consistency allows kids and families to start planning accordingly, and consistency is how whatever that means for you. It could be weekly, monthly, seasonally, but you just got to do it more than a couple times a year. And yeah, it's amazing to see just how much this is growing, that you're all putting this together. I started a nonprofit, Bike Bus World. We also offer one-to-one coaching if Ellen's super busy. I'm also available to help answer any questions, or you just sort of, might have some specific concerns about your route. It's, really helpful to talk to someone who's done it. So I'm always here to support and help however I can.
Thanks. Yeah, it's cool to have you on. Okay. I think that is the end of my formal stuff. Actually, everything that you said was on my last slide too. So keeping it simple, choose a schedule that you can sustain and promote. Recruiting others as you can. Be direct is my way of telling you to be brave and just say what you need and ask and say, I need help. And do you want to do it with me? Um, Adjust as you need to. If that's that the day didn't work or if that the time of the day didn't work, whatever that might be. As we got better at our bike bus, we were able to start it later and later because I was less concerned about being late for school. And then, yeah, communicate. Talk it out with whoever is there. Um, so, yeah, this has been a great discussion. What's up, Deborah?
Hey, I was wondering on like the communication piece, like thinking about during rides, like what's the best way to communicate things like stopping or going, like if like, and I've seen some people in like videos using whistles, and then I just noticed Bobby commented to use like hand signals. So just kind of wondering what you guys have been using for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Bobby, did you do the LCI? Did he? Oh, he had a drop. Um, I think that's going to come with the like at the top, making sure every kid knows what the system is. So again, yes, I would lean into the standard hand signals. So anything that is like something you would use as a cyclist when you are an adult and on your own, so that they're learning good habits. And again, I've not taken the LCI training in a long time. So don't hold me totally liable just yet. But then communicating ahead of time to the kids, like, and making sure that they know how to do it, or that they know what it means when you do it. At the beginning of each of the family bike rides, when I was pairing up with BikeWalkKC, the ride leader, we would do just like a 5 minute overview every time of like the ABC quick check. But then I think it'd be really easy to add in the what do you do if I say stop? What do you do if I say slow? What do we do if we see a car? What do you do if I say come over this way, come over that way? I don't think there's any time that you can remind a kid too much.
Okay.
Irving asks, where's the, oh, go ahead, Deborah, sorry.
I just said, okay, thanks.
Oh, okay. I thought I was talking over you. Or if you asked where the LCI training is, there are various held across the country. BikeWalkKC is offering 2 rounds in the spring, so I think in February and then again in March. There is an in-person aspect that will be a rough commute if you're coming from Texas.
Okay.
But check, I think that Liz dropped it in the chat, but then as well, I would just go. So LCI is League Cycling Instructor, and it is from the American League of Cyclists. Is that the right way that I put those words, Liz? League of American Cyclists?
League of American Bicyclists, yeah. And I'm going to put a link for the, like, where you can find an LCI training. So we have a couple of confident city cycling classes, which are like a level down from the big LCI training. but those are bike safety education, and they're really great for teaching you how to be more confident riding on the road, how to use the hand signals, that kind of thing, and also things um, like avoiding a road hazard. So if you're in Kansas City, Missouri, and the pit of hell / a pothole opens up in front of you, like how to avoid that. And if you're riding with a group, how to help other people avoid it too. So we have those two classes coming up in the spring. And then the big LCI class, which is how to, LCI is more about a class to help you teach other people how to ride. So if you're going to be like a bike education person, then that's the seminar for it. But I will put the League of American Bicyclists bike education link also in the chat so that Urban can see it, so that it's a more national option.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And anyone local to Kansas City can join. There's one in February where it's like an evening for the Confident City cycling and then a full Saturday for the LCI training. And then again in March. And I don't remember what the cost is off the top of my head, but there's a small cost. Okay. It's literally my job to help you start a bike bus. So let's do it. I will reach out individually after this as well, just to follow up and kind of help you move through any steps that you're feeling stuck on. I really appreciate that everyone took an hour out of your evenings, especially as I mentioned, it's kind of dinner time-ish for us and school pickup time for our West Coasters. So I appreciate that you're here and I'm excited that you want to start a bike bus. So I feel like the one thing that I didn't say loud enough is that you can do it in Kansas City. Like, it feels like it's really cool that Sam is here, but it's also really easy to be like, well, Sam has got it's Portland. Of course you can do this. And it's this. Of course you can do that. But you can do it. We can do it here. We can build it here too.
You can do it literally everywhere.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
So we
All
don't
over
get to fall back on that excuse anymore that Kansas City is not built for cyclists, because we can do it. So yeah. Thank you for being here. Reach out to me afterwards with any questions too, and I will follow up. The recording will be sent out in the next couple of days as well. As you sit and stew on this, if you've got questions, if there are things that you're curious about, let me know. And that's where too, it's just going to be something where every school is different. Just like your pediatrician tells you, every kid is different. Every school is different. There's going to be some weird pop-up thing for you too. So there's probably an answer in the room either between me or I've got Sam's email now that he registered for my things. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I appreciate the back and forth too.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you. Bye.